Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Claressa Shields begging Jake Paul for the MVP return. She wants the MVP to lift the ban so she can get access to their fighters. But I'm telling you right now, the fans are out here saying, don't let her back. You know what I'm saying? Don't let her back in. But there's also the question, why is the GOAT so desperate to get back into MVP? Even I'm curious at that. You don't need MVP. You don't need Jake Paul. You don't need those women. Win records. Got Dimitri Salita. You're the GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. Man, please. Right? You don't need them. I would never work with them. And I don't like the way they treat me. And I don't like this and this and that. And okay. So what are you doing? Because the fans, you've lost the fans, man. Without the fans, you're nothing. That's how it goes when it comes to sports. When it comes to business, being out there in corporate America, once you lose your team, your subordinates, even your co-workers, your colleagues, once you lose the support of them, you're nothing, man. You won't last long. And these are just, what the young people say, facts. It's no blue hat. Whatever that, what the young people say and shit. So this is a fascinating chapter in Claressa Shields' story, because this is like what we're seeing here in real time is the downward spiral of a piece of American sporting history. A two-time gold medalist, career going up in flames because instead of them choosing to be professional, they've chosen not to hold their horses, be influenced by these individuals who know nothing about sports, and for their brand to be totally deteriorated, man. It's ridiculous to see how Claressa's career has diminished. But again, it's fascinating. You know what I'm saying? Because what you're doing now is, I'm watching and I'm like, yo, it's like they're putting two versions of Shields against each other. You know what I mean? You got the inside the ring Shields. And, we just got to be real. An extraordinary champion who has repeatedly demonstrated that she can solve problems, adapt, and win. People are going to question her opponents, but the bottom line is she got to win. Not every opponent has been like a K. Scott, but I understand the complaints about that. But the bottom line is, from an amateur to a pro, she's done the business. You know what I'm saying? So that's inside the ring, Claressa Shields. Then you have outside the ring, Claressa Shields. A fighter whose confrontations and public disputes have created consequences that could affect her access to major opponents and has totally locked off any opportunities for big-time branding and sponsorship deals. She did that. So the inside the ring Shields, everyone tends to kind of agree that you kind of like watching the fight. But outside the ring, you don't like looking at her. So the question isn't whether Claressa's talented enough to be in a boxing ring and compete. That's not it. It's just about, should she be with MVP again? Can she compete with the women over there? She can compete with them, of course, but should she be back? Should she be over there? Should she be allowed access? I don't know about all that. So I think the real issue here is Claressa needs to just admit to herself that she needs MVP more than MVP needs her. So this big vote talk is more like big MVP. They're not asking her, Claressa, hey, look, I know we put a ban on you, but hey, would you mind coming over here fighting one of our women? They could care less about her. She's the one over there. Like, she acting like she the big dog. Oh yeah, MVP, lift the ban. I come and whip her. Man, nobody, they're just like annoyed. They're just like, get out of here. Now you begging? Now, I want to say this. Claressa Shields, she wants back in. She wants to be able to come to MVP events. She wants to fight the women. She wants to be part of the movement. She wants to be part of that movement. I don't care what she says. I'm not saying she wants to leave Win Records and Dimitri Salita, but she wants to go everywhere and be welcomed everywhere, just like Cheers. Wanna go where everybody knows your name. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That's all. She wanna go where everybody knows her name and she wants to feel like she's accepted and welcome. But the thing is, she doesn't put that energy out. So can Claressa Shields continue making money without MVP? Um, if she can continue making money without MVP, why does returning matter so much? That's what I would ask. If you can make all this money, three point something million, right? You make 3 point something million. Why you messing around with MVP? Why would you go to MVP? Because they ain't making money like that, right? They ain't filling out venues. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. So why you going over there if you making 3 point something million? You telling me in one fight, Claressa Shields made 3 point something million? What? You telling me I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's like 3.5. You telling me she making 3.5 to $4 million a fight? I tell you what, Claressa, if you're doing that, you a bad girl. I gotta put some respect on your name. Hood champion need to hold his horses and stop taking it to the stupid. But that's why you always run around here shouting, "Man, please, papoose, pap, pap, mm-hmm." And he out here talking about how they making money. You getting well, we getting real money. We getting money. So okay, so keep getting money. Why you need to go? Why you worry about MVP? I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because MVP has something she cannot manufacture by herself. A concentrated collection of elite women fighters. And they can sit there and put fights against each other all day. They can just sit there and avoid Claressa. They don't need her. MVP has positioned itself as a major player in women's boxing. That's why everybody's aligning themselves with MVP. Her team should have done that. It should have never encouraged her to go out there for the viral moment where Papoose was on the lookout while Claressa went and slapped Alycia. They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They went there and then she chose to act a fool. Nah, 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 nah. Don't let her back. Don't let her back, man. She wants access to an Alycia Baumgardner. She wants access to Amanda Serrano. She wants access to a Mikaela Mayer, Chantel Cameron, and other established and emerging female fighters like Tam Tebow. You see what I'm saying? That's extremely important for Claressa Shields. Because at this stage of her career, the question isn't whether she can beat another ordinary opponent, it's who can actually challenge her. And the real fighters, man, that the names get people going are over there on MVP. Now, of course, you got Hannah Gabriels and Chris Cyborg. There's an African fighter, I just stumbled across, she looked like she's problems for anybody. But the bottom line is she needs fighters who can challenge her. And Claressa, yeah, she's a big name, of course. Can she go anywhere and sell out? No, not by herself. So fans want to see great fighters challenged. Other than that, shit dries up. Fans aren't going to keep coming to watch you fight tomato cans. So Claressa, she's up shit creek with no paddle right now. But I do feel that she doesn't necessarily need MVP to box. I want to be crystal clear. She's demonstrated that she can headline events independently. So there's people for her to fight. They're not really big name fighters. That's the problem. But she doesn't need MVP necessarily. She can just go and fight anyone. It doesn't mean her events are going to be successful. But they got females out there she can fight. Now, according to her, nobody wanted to fight her at the lower weight classes, 154 and 160. So she went up to heavyweight where she made the most money. And the women up there were like, yeah, we'll fight her. Well, you're back down at 160, talking about fighting at 154. What you gonna do if all of a sudden the women become spooked again, according to you, and they don't want to fight you? You don't have access to MVP, and those women out there who, there's not gonna be a promotional obstacle for you to overcome. They don't want to fight you because, according to you, they may be scared. So Claressa has nowhere to go. Do you know where you're going to? Do you know the things that life is showing you? Do you know? I don't think you do. So hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. You got Selena Promotions, you got Claressa Shields Promotions, other business relationships, the zone exposure. You got your own fan base. You got multiple world championships. We know you're not just a prospect waiting for a promoter to discover you. You're a boxing institution. We know that. So why do you care about MVP? Why do you care about MVP? Matchmaking, folks. That's what it is. That's the difference. She and her team know that they screwed the pooch. Because MVP represents access to the Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching ching, dollar dollar bill, y'all. Access to the money. A fighter can make money fighting lesser known opponents. But the biggest paydays usually require big name versus big name. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Crawford was out here whipping everybody's ass. And they gave that man a hard time. He was fighting who was put in front of him, people who were mandatories, people who were champions, or people who were top 10, top 5. Crawford was doing the business. They didn't get that man credit for nobody. Sean Porter, no real credit. Amir Khan, no real credit. They weren't giving him credit for nothing. No one, even going all the way back to Postal. Gamboa, he kind of got credit for that, but then they took that from him. They just didn't give that man no credit. It wasn't until he fought Earl Spence. They still ain't give him credit. Fought Madrimov, still ain't give that man credit. Fought Canelo, still ain't giving that man credit. But they eased up on him just a little bit because of the name recognition of people he was fighting. But his haters are still hating on him. So for Claressa, they're going to hate on her no matter what because she's not a likable person. But at the end of the day, she needs a big name. Crawford was able to get him, and now he in the breeze. Claressa needs him. See, this is the problem, I think. I really think Claressa, she thinks she's on the level of a Floyd Mayweather. I think she thinks she's on the level of a Terrence Crawford. Now, they put the work in. She still has work to do. But she's been fighting as a pro for a long time. I think it's going on 11 years or something. She didn't just start 3 years ago. I think people forget Claressa's on the downward slide, folks. You know what I mean? She's now coming out of her prime. Claressa's not entering her prime. She's coming out of her prime. And if she's gonna do something, she needs to do it now. Because now she's talking about having a Pap Jr. and all that craziness, which I don't think is gonna happen. But hey, if it happens, cool. I don't think it's gonna be in 2027. It looks like she plans on having 2 fights in 2027. So how's she gonna have a Pap Jr. Pap? I don't know how she gonna do it. But imagine if Alycia is still cool at 147, making 147 to fight Claressa. Or they came up with a catch weight of 150. You could have Claressa versus Baumgardner. But really, an easier fight to make would be Claressa against the winner, Mikaela Mayer, Chantel Cameron. But you see where I'm going? Those fights immediately generate conversations. And Claressa's disciplined. She'll get down to 150. She making what, 3 point something a million a fight. Get you a dietitian, a nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach, and do what Layla Ali told you. Come down to the lighter weight classes where the bigger opportunities. And don't start making excuses. Devin Haney, somehow that man was making 135. Devin Haney looked like he was a dead man walking. He looked like a ghoul to make 135. He looked sick. Devin Haney at 135, he looked sick. But he did what he had to do. 140 did what he had to do. Now he's at 147 where he feels better. It ain't going to kill Claressa to get herself down to a catch weight of 150 or something to fight like an Alycia. Alycia said back in the day, she knows Claressa bigger, but it's all about skills. So my thing is, why not make the fight? You know what I'm saying? Because those fights generate conversations. Now imagine Shields fighting someone most casual fans have never heard of. Even if Shields wins spectacularly, the reaction can become, okay, but who was that? That's the danger. And that's what happened with K. Scott. People, they were saying that before. Even I said that, but then I tried to be fair and have a conversation and stir the pot and, you know. But there's only so much stirring you could goddamn do when the reality is K. Scott, beautiful person, seems to be a great human being, but the woman had the emergency CAT scans and only had like 7 pro fights. She lost one of those and had a draw, so she wasn't a real threat. But I'll tell you, the MVP ban changes the equation because they have everything that Claressa needs. MVP announced that Shields was banned from its events after that altercation with AB. Let me tell you something. It's not simply Jake doesn't like Claressa. This is a corporate decision. This was a corporate decision. And that's why reversing it isn't just simple. Jake can't just say, all right, we'll just let you back in. He can't do that, man. You know, he got to think about all the women, all those women. You can't come out there and be like, surprise, we're going to let her back in because there's some money to make for you gals. Are you gals ready? Who wants to fight Big Boat first? They're going to look at him crazy because he's sending a conflicted message to him. And that's the leadership problem right there. He's got to consider if he brings Shields back, is that going to make his fighters feel disposable or protected? It probably make him feel disposable. That's why the fans are saying, don't let her back. The fans are saying, keep her banned, man. Nobody's saying she can't box. I'm just being real. If you're serious, you can't make that argument. Claressa can't fight. That's taking it to the goddamn stupid. But the criticism is talent doesn't give you permission to ignore professional standards. It is what it is, man. We've had people, man, I'm telling you about in the workforce, very effective. The best person on the team when it comes to getting something done. I need this done. Everybody else taking 5-6 hours, they get it done in an hour. Attention to detail, no errors, everything. And they're like, yep, sir, I'm done with that. What else you got? Very proficient and very efficient. But then the attitude would derail them. Because people only want to deal with you and tolerate you for so long when your attitude sucks. I'm just being real with you, man. Attitude is everything in life. Talking about money, nah, man, attitude. I'm telling you, man, you can have all the talent in the world, but that doesn't give you permission to ignore standards, to not respect people, You can't do that. That's a completely different argument. A fighter can be great. You can be popular. You can be profitable, man, and still face consequences for behavior outside the ring. That's what's happening to her. And they didn't just take the boot and kick her on the left side of her ass or on the right side of her ass. No, they turned the boot sideways, shot for the middle, and it went into the hole. And she doesn't like the way it feels. I wouldn't either if someone took a boot, pushed it side, turned it sideways, and tried to shove it in my cocker hole. Nah, hey, hood champion ain't going for that. She want to run around here telling everybody, man, please, I'm the GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. Man, he, ho. Yippee-ki-yay, pap, pools, pap, That's the biggest irony, man. Always telling people I'm the GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. And then inside the ring, your resume gives a legitimate argument, but being the greatest isn't just about winning fights. Once you become a superstar, your behavior becomes part of your brand. That's the price of fame, man. Her behavior has become part of her brand, and it's not good. But she wanted to be famous. She wanted all the juice. Well, now you got the GOAT problem. Claressa's achieved things most fighters never will. It just is what it is. 2 gold medals, championships across multiple divisions, undisputed accomplishments, heavyweight history, middleweight championships. She built an extraordinary resume, but there's a major problem. Her accomplishments and controversies are now competing for attention. Instead of everybody talking about how great Claressa Shields is, people are now talking about what did Claressa say this time? Oh boy, what'd she do now? And she just sitting back saying, man, please, bullshit. I didn't say that. I didn't eat that cake. I didn't eat that cake. Yes, you did eat the cake. But the bottom line, that's terrible for legacy building. Every day is something new. But we know she's all about her social media and making her little money. I make thousands. I make thousands. Why are you so excited about making thousands on social media when you're making 3 point something million a fight? Nah, you made 3 point something million in a fight, right? Why are you worried about this few $1,000s on social media? See, this is where Layla Ali becomes relevant. You know what I'm saying? And I talked about it in another video. The Layla Ali situation is just another example, man, of how personal conflict can become part of the larger Shields narrative. You know what I'm saying? Her out here disrespecting Ali, and we already know, I talked about it already. I ain't about to beat a dead dog, but look, listen, you out here disrespecting people, former fighters, current fighters, and all your comments are perceived as disrespectful. Fans have become extremely emotional when it comes to Claressa Shields. So when Claressa has her little quoties coming on the people's YouTube channels and coming into the comment sections talking about y'all are just haters, it's like I say, no, learn a new adjective, bozo. And how about this? Hold Big Quote accountable. She's disrespected everyone. So fans are going to be emotional and they're not going to like her and they're going to have things to say that you're probably not going to like, especially if you're a Claressa Shields supporter. I'm not telling you not to support her, but I'm telling you hold her ass accountable, hold her feet to the fire. Because Layla Ali, she put a lesson out there for Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? There's a business lesson. Nobody's obligated to do business with somebody they don't want to associate with. You know what I'm saying? Layla has her own brand. Jake Paul, MVP have their own brand. Muhammad Ali's name is one of the most valuable brands in sports history. Nobody has to give Claressa Shields access to their brand. Jake Paul needs to understand that same principle. Access is earned. Claressa hasn't earned access. It is what it is, man. So as far as Jake Paul lifting the ban, I say no. MVP established a rule. Baumgardner is part of the MVP family. She's probably the flagship fighter right now because Serrano's going to be retiring. All the other females deserve to be protected. You reverse that ban too quickly, it could look like again. It's all about the Wu-Tang cream cha-ching ching dollar bill, y'all, to MVP, not the ladies and their safety and their peace of mind. So it could create a precedent where stars receive different treatment. That's a legitimate argument. Jake Paul, he's back in the corner. What you gonna do now, Jake? As far as lifting the ban, look, there's some money there. But there's a third option. You know, I talked about it, a conditional return. You know, maybe they, but he'd have to me, Shields would have to demonstrate that she's ready to walk through it professionally, and he would have to talk to his team. He'd have to talk to those ladies, all of them, because there are some over there who support Claressa. There are others who don't. You know what I'm saying? And that's just being real. And that could that help Claressa? I don't know. I think she's in a bad space right now. But if she wants back to MVP badly enough, the smartest thing she could do is stop fighting publicly with MVP, going on these different platforms, disrespecting them all. She needs to go out there, man, and just start acting professionally. Don't insult Jake, Amanda, Alycia, the women over there, a company. Don't demand special treatment. Don't make every interview about the band. Let your behavior make the argument because when it comes to the way Claressa fights, her boxing doesn't need defending. She has an enormous advantage. She doesn't need to convince anybody that she can fight and that whoever she fights is going to be a damn good fight because Claressa, she comes to scrap. The resume's there, the athletic ability is there, where she shows she can lose over 40 pounds and make 160 and still perform at a high level. Of course, people talk about snack. People have questions about things, and I can understand. It's just a conversation. But I'll tell you this, man. Claressa performs at an elite level in the ring. Her mind is always going, and she's in there solving problems. So her as a boxer is not the problem. It's as far as the business side of her career. Can the business side of her career operate smoothly? And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't seem like it is. So if MVP never lifts the ban, I mean, Shields just operates independently. She can still fight, and she'll get some titles and she can headline, but she'll have to work really hard to secure the highest profile women's boxing matchups because so many of them are over there on MVP with Jake Paul, and that's what fans will become frustrated with Claressa and her fights. She'll dry up her whole career and everything will dry up. So Papoose Pap, he got to figure that shit out. He got his hands full too. They just sitting back, leaving it all on Claressa. Nah, man, you need to own it and you need to try to fix it. So who is she fighting? You know, that's going to be the question. If she fights three of her next three opponents, if they're not considered elite, she wins all three. The internet's going to say she's beating up nobody. They're already saying that. They are already saying that. They said it about her last 3, 4 fights. And in some cases, it's unfair, but that's how boxing fans think. It is what it is. The opponent creates the event. Shields can be the greatest fighter on earth. If the opponent isn't interesting, casual fans are not gonna care. And that's just being real. So, Claressa Shields, can she sell without MVP? I mean, I don't know. But can she consistently sell big events without superstar opponents? That's a totally different challenge. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, she has demonstrated that she can attract interest. But can she continue attracting substantial live interest without having this brand entertainment factor and bringing on these entities like Zeus? Because that seems to be a really important part of that business model that they're pushing. Because Zeus brought entertainment personalities and crossover attention to the event. I think that had a lot to do with a lot of people who still showed up, although Claressa disrespected the radio personality out there in Atlanta. And that can introduce boxing to people who aren't hardcore boxing fans. And that's smart. And that may be what they're anticipating while they're doing it this way, because they're like, yo, we're losing the hardcore boxing fans. We need to, kind of stimulate this other pool right here. And we start to get them out there. That way, when the diehards stop coming, at least we can fill in all of those voids. You see? And that's actually pretty smart if they're thinking that way. I doubt they're thinking that way. But if they are, bravo. But Claressa still has to answer bigger questions. Can the Claressa Shields name please bullshit? Oh boy. Papoose pap. Can can the Claressa Shields name alone generate that level of attention? That's what superstar status ultimately means. Can she do it? Now, Shields doesn't need another easy win. She needs a fight to have people saying, I got to see this. And that right now is Chris Cyborg, Hannah Gabriels, or Tam Tebow. But really, they want Hannah Gabriels and Chris Cyborg. Lauren Price, whatever. Alycia Baumgardner, if they can figure out the weight, yeah. Mikaela Mayer, Chantel Cameron, it creates a storyline. But the ideal opponent needs skill, name recognition, championship credibility, personality. But I think there needs to be a storyline. You know what I mean? I think there needs to be a storyline. And to me, the name that really comes to mind is Hannah Gabriels. Even though she's older than Kate Scott, nobody's gonna care. Hannah will get in there. She'll get her chance to put her hands on Claressa. Claressa either whips her ass or Hannah whips her ass. Either way it goes, fans will be satisfied. No one should be complaining. Everybody should shut up. If Hannah beats her, it is what it is. If Claressa beats Hannah, it is what it is. You see? But that's how you create an event. Skill, name recognition, storyline, championship credibility, personality, and a reason to dislike or challenge the other fighter. That's what I'm talking about right there. But the ban, it could kind of hurt both sides, you know what I mean? MVP never works with Shields. Shields loses access to potential major opponents, but MVP loses access to one of the biggest names in women's boxing. So this isn't necessarily a situation where one side wins and the other one loses. Both sides can leave money on the table, and neither one want that. But I think the ship will be full steam ahead. The MVP ship will be full steam ahead without Claressa. But there could be some money that they leave on the table by not fighting her. But money shouldn't be the only factor. That's why fans say keep her banned. Keep her banned, Jake. Your leadership is important. We need Claressa because she'll make us money. If you're thinking that, Jake, that's weak leadership. We don't want to hear your argument. But if you're coming at us, Jake, like Claressa has demonstrated accountability and can operate within our standards, so we're willing to reconsider, that's a little bit stronger, and the difference is enormous. But she hasn't demonstrated accountability, and she hasn't proven that she can operate within anyone's standards because she's out here wild as hell, going off on everybody still and carrying on. Claressa thinks she's untouchable. But I think for Clarissa's best argument, I think the strongest thing she could say is first stop talking about I'm the GOAT. Everyone knows that my position, I'm the GOAT, I'm the GOAT. Now she need to come out and say, yo, I made a mistake. I understand why they reacted. I've changed how I'm handling myself. That will show some maturity. And you don't need to surrender your confidence, but you just need to take it down a notch. And I think fans could actually respect that. You know what I'm saying? Accountability, humility, professionalism, consistency. Nobody expects a champion to be quiet. They expect some trash talking. But there's a difference between promotional fire and personal destruction. That's the line Shields has to learn to manage. You swear she had a little bit of Busta Rhymes in her with all that rah rah, like a dungeon dragon. That's how she be out here, just going off all the time. So Big Whoop, the legacy, still being written, but fans don't care. You know, she's finished. Is how everybody sees it. She's finished, man. Because even if she comes out and she starts apologizing, nobody gonna care. How do you take back disrespecting Muhammad Ali? How do you take back assaulting someone? Like she talking about, yeah, 130 pounds trying to be a bully. Yeah, she trying to be a bully, 130 pounds. All right. You 200 plus pounds, go up there, 130-pound little petite thing. Yeah, she talking shit, you talking shit. Why you mad? Because she got under your skin? Oh, you mad? Oh, you mad? You can't hold your horse. You got to take it to the stoop because the 130-pound fighter got underneath your skin over your man? Or is it because you're looking at her and you're jealous? Is that what it is? You're looking at Alycia, the red bone, the light skin. And then she got this little Korean flair to her. Think she like 25% Korean or something. You're looking at her. Is that what you really don't like? How she got muscles in her booty? And you got dumplings in yours? I mean, what's the story here? Go over there and hit that woman, man. Uh-uh. I think it's over for Big Goat. You know, don't get me wrong. What she accomplished, I mean, it's there. They can't take that from her. The legacy is there. She got wins, belts, medals, undisputed championships. She got it all. But you know what? She also has questions about how she responds, how she's been responding when these doors have been closing, because she's had a lot of doors closed on her. She still has questions about how she treated her competitors. You know what I mean? How she handled conflict, how she handled fame, how she handled power. So just like they talk about the championships, the medals, belts, wins, they talk about those other things. And that part is still being written. She needs to understand that. And the sooner she understands that, the sooner she'll change that attitude and try to get back on course. Because right now, man, Clarissa's going the wrong direction. She should be up and away. She's not. She'll be soaring with the eagle. She's down in the weeds and shit. So the fans say, Jake, keep a band. But the question, should Jake Paul immediately lift the ban? I'm going to be real with you. Nah, man. You don't just lift the ban because Claressa Shields wants back. You don't do it because a fight can make money. And certainly not because she's a great fighter. If MVP established the ban because it believed her conduct violated its standards, Jake should be extremely careful about reversing that decision without addressing the underlying issue. But should the door remain necessarily closed forever? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But she would have to demonstrate genuine professionalism, and MVP believes a structured return can protect its fighters and its reputation. I mean, a conditional reinstatement could eventually make sense, and that's the real challenge for Claressa. But I wouldn't do it anytime soon. But for Claressa, listen, stop begging. Stop begging for the door to open. Stop it. Knock it off. Quit taking it to the stupid. Hey, yo, hold your horses. And stop taking to the stupid out here begging. Lord have mercy. Because, see, Claressa the kind of beggar. If she was a vagrant, I'll give you a story, man. In Trinidad, boom, I'm going up in Patrod Roti shop with my cousin. And on the way in, there's a vagrant out there. And the vagrant like, yo, let me get a little something for roots and culture. And I'm like, all right, on the way out. So my cousin and I go in. I think I got a curry shrimp roti, boy. They put some aloo and chana, and we got some veggies in there, man, and chutney and kuchila, boy. All kind of shit in there. Curry pumpkin. One big crazy looking roti, man. So we sitting in there eating, drinking an apple J. And on the way out, I had some spare change in my hand, and I gave it to the vagrant. He took that shit and saw it was nothing but coins. He threw that shit back at me. He's like, I want money that does fold. I said, you want money that does fold? You ungrateful bastard. And my cousin and I walked off. We were laughing. We left that change right there on the ground. But that's how Claressa is. You give her, she asks for something, and you give her what is really your best. And if it ain't what she feels she wants, she's the type of person that will turn on you. She's just like that vagrant who was sitting his ass outside the roti shop and was mad because I gave him change. He probably was hoping I'd bring him a damn roti and a little $10, a little 10 TT and shit. Bastard threw the change at me. We laughed though. So the bottom line is, Claressa, stop begging. Stop begging. You don't need to prove you're a great fighter. You got to prove you can be a great business partner and show sportsmanship. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you what. If you're Jake Paul and Claressa Shields comes to you tomorrow and says, Jake, let me back in the MVP, do you say welcome back, Gord, or do you say not yet? Earn it. Because at this point, the biggest opponent Claressa Shields she may have isn't another boxer, it's her own reputation. And that fight doesn't have a referee. It doesn't have a judge. And there's no championship belt at the end. The public decides the winner. And right now, the public, the fans, are telling Jake Paul, keep her ass banned, Jake. Forget the money. Do the right thing. And Claressa's over there saying, man, please bullshit. Jake, let me back in. It was nothing but a little slap, little love tap. You know I love her. I love you. Come on. Papoose, pap, pap. Keep her banned, Jake. Do the right thing. In the breeze.